Leo ni Father's Day, lazima tufanye special. We have artists in Kenya wako na initiative poa sana ya ensure wase wanafuata stories za family planning poa, stories za population. Group of Kenyan creatives who came together involve kina Juliani, na leo tuko na Juliani in studio na Maggie Gitu. They are going to tell us about the pregnant men we saw in town some time back, na Juliani atu explain ye line yake ya baba alikama kaenda.
So nianza na hiyo line ama nianza na
unaweza anza hata na kitenge is fine.
I think one of the things that we need to talk about, of course the creatives will come together and then wanna care about the future of this country and whatever. Yes. So we don't just minimize it to family planning. We have to look at the whole spectrum. So if you look at the realistic angle about inchi place naenda and where we want to go as a country, we have to be deliberate, or we have to be in tune. Yes. With what tunataka inchi ikue, the kind of resources we need for us to become middle income, whatever. So inamaanisha we have to look at our health. Will we be able to provide health to a population in the next 10 or 20 years? Will be able to provide security? So population come in handy when you start to make those decisions. Okay. So family planning it has nothing to do with just ni aje msitukue na watoi. Okay. It has everything to do with yes unaweza kuwa na mtoi, but will you be able individually to provide for this for her or him, but also at the same time will the country be able to of course sustain him. That's a
very noble initiative. Na first of all apologies, karibu sana kwa show. Unajua tumekutana mara ya pili, so karibu it's a different show. Karibu Maggie.
Thank you.
Initiative poa sana. If men were pregnant, interesting question.
Yeah, if men were pregnant, maybe family planning would be more important.
Okay.
But I think the realistic thing to say is men or women, it's very important at the policy level and implementation level. Okay. For there to be people who can see what Juliani is talking about. It's not just kuzaa ama kukosa kuzaa ama kupata mtoto or whatever. It's about saying every child in this country creates an impact, and you as a parent create an impact, and the impact it continues to impact other things, economy, yes, health, yes, of yourself and your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever, and the child or the children, but also on the country, on the resources of the country, on the public health system of the country. Okay. Do you understand?
I understand.
Yeah.
Totally. Like I said, it's a very noble initiative, but I understand before, kuna wase wetu, audience wetu kwa distracted na vitu kidogo sana. Juliani, kindly, would you explain to our people when you are home why macho yako, wasi confuse macho yako inakaa kama ya president, at least president, haters say president, but your president ni reflection ya tai. Yako utatu explain.
No. I'm just, I mean, it's been a long day, so that's all. See, yako pia is the same way. So
yangu ni moshi ya mat.
Okay, yangu si mat. Yangu si moshi ya mat. Nikubit tu.
Mmekuwa na over 100 million impressions on Twitter kwa hii historia if men were pregnant na family planning, na hii course yenye mna champion. Mna feel ni kama ina reflect kwa, unajua social media hata Boni usema unaweza call wase social media, Twitter wasomechangamka tuna trend, alafu mkienda mnapata ni watu watatu wamecome demonstrations. How is that reflecting on the ground in terms of ile impact ina create the movement?
Okay. I think it's creating a strong impact because maybe Twitter, yes, the hashtag form ni gani, yes, we have a concert coming up, form ni diva, right? The idea is form ni kujipanga, si ndio?
Okay.
Si kupangwa, si kungoja upangwe, sijui nini. It's about saying mi nataka, what do I want, and then how can I make decisions that will help me get what I want. If I want to get a baby, how do I go about that in a way that is safe and responsible? If I'm not ready for that, how do I go about that in a way that is safe and responsible? Okay. Right? So it's about, I think those 100 million impressions, we will know over time because a movement is a continuing conversation. Okay. So maybe 6 months, 6 years from now, we'll be able to say, okay, this campaign contributed in a meaningful way, in a tangible way. Juata sayu, ukiconceive itabidi ungoja 9 months ndio tujue vile kumeenda.
One of the things that maybe needs to be clear also is that the simple fact that people are having that conversation is important.
Yes.
Because normally watu are having your conversation.
Yeah.
Normally ni watu wengine, sisi bora i happen.
But you do realize nyinyi mnaweza kuwa tagged as enemies wa Father's Day kwa sababu mko about your limit kabisa. Maze usikue buda sana, kuwa buda na limits.
Actually the whole idea ni si pia mimi ni baba ya mtu unaona. So it's not that he don't, is actually is that if ama when lazima kuwe na wacha iwe na mpangilio. Most of us watu binadamu wengi ni oops. Unaona, so that's the truth yani, unaona. So and oops inamaanisha, so hapo ndio unaanza kusort vitu after it come, unaona. So we're trying to say
conversation nyingine ya wasi usema ladies love surprises. I'm pregnant. Alafu conversation ya tena family planning has been left to be women's issue. Like machali hawa deal nayo because wow, get pregnant. Is that the conversation we sema? If sasa now that brings us to the point, yeah, if men got pregnant, people will care more.
Yes, maybe that is the feeling. It's true that family planning, it seems inachua, you know, the ladies more than the men.
Okay.
But you see, even if uyo chali aruka hiyo ball, bado hiyo ball ni yake. Na huyo mtu yeye atagura akijua, fadhangu alinikataa. Na huyo msata kwa anajua nilikataa mtoto, yani nilikataa binadamu, nilimake na mtu mwingine. Okay. So even though on the outside it looks like you got away with it, you didn't get away with anything. Talk to these men who are older who abandoned their kids. Let them tell you how easy and how nice they feel about themselves. It's a terrible feeling. Yeah. So it's about saying it doesn't need to be a men's issue or a women's issue, because children are made by an X and a Y chromosome, right? Two people coming together. Yes. 19 years old, 20 years old, 16 years old. They're having children, and then who's watching those children? Let
me be the devil's advocate in this platform. If we are chasing 52 million, at working with the last population census, we go with 43 million tentatively. So when we get to 53 million, the death sai yata watu wajazaliwa ni 95,000 last I checked. So if we get to 52 million Kenyans, hata wale wajazaliwa, the debt reduces to something like 80-something thousand. I guess that's the government strategy ya kureduce deni.
Ini hesabu dai, kwani wewe ukifanya maths nini?
Kama tuko wengi, hesabu ya pesa inakuwa kidogo
yenye increase because now services karao lazima increase, hosi lazima increase, everything else lazima increase. So actually in the next 30 years from now or before whatever, will be actually 80 million. Yeah. So inamaanisha if we can't take care of our population now, we imagine tuko wengi. So inamaanisha jobs haziko available, inamaanisha healthcare iko sawa, inamaanisha security iko sawa, inamaanisha hatuwezi feed ourselves, mahindi zinaibwa, unaona. So it's like the truth of the matter is that there needs to be accountability in both levels. So we can tell people to be ni aje pangeni uzazi and pangeni life yenu, but at the same time government you have a responsibility. Juzi kuna contraceptives zinaingia na haziwezi fanya kitu.
Okay.
Side effects zile hazifai kuwa na. So hizo ni my conversation we need to have as
before tuende kwa feedback ya social media, just a question. You mentioned something about fathers who abandon their children feeling bad about that after a certain period of time. Instead of following through with that, getting the men to give others a lesson on what it means to abandon your children, to be as examples, to give a message of why you need to take care of your children. Don't you think that will be a better approach compared to threatening other men with getting pregnant? Like a pregnant man, what if men were pregnant?
Oh no, I think the statement, what if men were pregnant, everybody would care, is really just talking about what you said earlier. This seems to be a one-sided conversation, whereas it needs to be a collaborative conversation.
Yes.
Those men who did abandon their children, try to understand that it doesn't speak well to yourself and to your character to know that you are the sort of person who can do such a thing. Okay. So it may not be that easy for them. However, there's nothing stopping them from telling people on a micro level or a macro level that, you know, this is a pretty significant decision I made and it was the wrong decision. I want you to hear me telling you Like, listen to me telling you this was the wrong decision, right?
Yes,
But we're looking at this at a macro scale. We're looking at this at a country level. And that's like when we were talking about the government earlier, strengthening education systems, because studies have shown over and over and over that the more educated a woman is, the more likely she is to have a more manageable family.
True.
Same with men, right? We need to strengthen health systems, because the more educated you are, the more likely you are to actually have a healthier family. But even if you don't, health systems can manage better when they do preventive care rather than treating a population full of obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, those kinds of things. So that when we're 90 million, we're able to expand as a country. We're 47th in size globally in terms of land mass. So si ati 80 million hakutakuwa na place ya kujenga nyumba.
Yes.
But then we need a government that begins now with the vision of 2030, 2040, 2080, when whoever is in power is irrelevant. It's about systems and policies that are in place, that are effective, that are able to be implemented.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Actually, for me, when I first heard of the question, what if men were pregnant, na hashtag ya vitambi, I was like, this is not going to scare anyone into responsibility because tumezoea watu wa kitambi na wao kwa tu sawa. Actually wao ukari kutoka, actually mzee amekuwa na kitambi 20 years, utamsikia na 9 months. But now it makes sense from your perspective.